Welcome to Shamanism 111D. We're talking about the path of power today. So all objects in the universe follow the path of power. Everything in the universe manifests the amount of power that it has. And more powerful objects make it possible for objects with less power to become more powerful. So it's crucial when you're on the power path to know how much power you have, because you cannot manifest more power than you've gained so far. You have only the power that you've earned. You must match the level of your current power with the power that's required for what you want to accomplish in order to know if you're powerful enough to take it on. If we try to grow too quickly, we'll stumble, or at worst, we'll have a precipitous fall. The path of power should be walked one step at a time in gradual increments that can be assimilated and integrated productively. If we overestimate our power, it can be catastrophic. If you underestimate your power, you'll stay stagnant and stuck. So bigger is not always better, and impatience on the path will block your ability to gain power. So life is a game. Why aren't more of us winning? And the problem is that most people are playing the game using a manual with a lot of missing pages. And that's why we need to come back to the obvious but often neglected foundational truths. Because most of our misses, most of our losses, most of our quote-unquote failures are handling errors, meaning human error, not the world not working the way it should. It's us that are not working the right way. So what's winning? Well, winning means that we're free, we're happy, we're able to choose, we feel fulfilled, we're making a contribution, we feel meaningful with our time here, we're in service, and we're walking the path of power. And so what is losing? Well, losing is failing to achieve winning. Losing is the opposite of winning, right? It's feeling powerless, feeling trapped and stuck, without self-esteem, without any direction, without any purpose. But there's also a value of losing. If you keep going, eventually you'll learn from your losses, and eventually you'll win. You're free to choose how long it takes and how many times you will repeat the same mistakes before you learn. And as in all interesting games, there's going to be obstacles and opponents in the way of you winning. And how you approach these has to do with the kind of power you've accumulated and whether or not you know to use your power well. So losing can teach you what not to do, and it shows you what doesn't provide power and what doesn't give you energy. When you lose, you can keep learning that is a choice, and you can still be in the running on the path of power. So talking about a few pitfalls of power. So pursuit of power is a high-risk venture. And as shamans, we know that the power we seek has the ability or the power to destroy us if we don't have enough discipline and awareness to handle it. So winning at the game of life requires power and energy that come from hidden aspects of ourselves that are often forgotten, overlooked, lost, or discarded. And again, this is where soul retrieval comes in as a really important part on the power path. So the power path is the path of the heart. When a person knows their purpose and their path, everything becomes meaningful. When we walk on the sort of ordinary life paths that we get from the visible, from the first attention, we're following our social conditioning and our cultural imprinting. We're doing what is expected of us, what is expected in our social class, as in, the professions or the jobs that we take on. And we're going for results in terms of wealth and status. These things do not give us much inner light, but rather that sort of external, visible power. So shamans walk a path with second attention. This is the path of inner light and infinite power. Shamans don't have careers, we don't have routines, we don't have habits, we refuse to be enslaved. Shamans work instead of having jobs and careers. People who work in the first path, on the ordinary path, can often be confused about what they believe in, and therefore their beliefs are not worth fighting for. This is different for a shaman. When you're on the path of the heart, you won't be making predictable moves. It's a philosophy. It's a way of seeing, walking, and working. The path of the heart will lead you to the task, the contribution that spirit is asking you to make, your purpose for being here. So walking on the path of the heart, we must be willing to surrender, to be moved spontaneously. We can't be focused on personal attachments and ego expectations or desires for comfort and success. The path of the heart will be extremely satisfying and fulfilling, and extremely demanding and requiring a willingness to sacrifice. We need to understand sacrifice, because once you're on this path, there is no turning back. We can only keep going. And when I say that there are no predictable moves, sometimes when you think about your life, it's like, wow, I really went here, 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 and here. But there will be times, moment in time, when you look back and you realize that that was the straightest line to get from where you were to where you are now. But without that map, it seems maybe a little bit chaotic. But with hindsight, it makes perfect sense. So some signs that you're on the path. It is what you daydream about. Your fantasies are about this. They're the games that you played as a child. Natural talent, because there's always talent for what spirit created you to do. That is a given. It will be what you enjoy. You will enjoy it the most, and you'll find that when you're on the path, you're in that encompassing flow. And there will also be allies that come to show up on the way, to show you when you need guidance, to help you when you need support. And they'll come at unexpected times when the terrain is the roughest. You will also receive prompts when you're getting too distracted, or when you're clinging to your ego's plan, when you're not open to the guidance of spirit, when you're putting yourself first, when you're being self-important, when you think you know better and you're living that sort of scripted, controlled life without any zest and real power. You'll get prompted to come back to the path of power. And when you're on your heart path, you're satisfied and happy. You shine with inner light, and you have powerful inner strength. Synchronicities abound, and so does magic, and there's signs everywhere. Obstacles can either defeat you, destroy you, or make you stronger. If you're weak, your weaknesses can make you the hunted. Or you can use your weaknesses to show you where your unrealized potential is. So distractions mean that we begin to engage in an energy that doesn't help. We start to move off our path, for example. So we have obstacles on the path to bring us back to where we need to go. It's not about waiting for someone else to come up with the right answer. It's about us finding the answer. So how can we ourselves rise to the challenge, to the obstacle? So some obstacles that get in our way are responsibilities. We feel we're responsible to other things, feel like we have to provide, for example, for others, and we doubt that the path of the heart can give us that financial support that we need. Can also be dependency. We're depending on others, and so not stepping into our power. That we're anxious or overactive, that we just get distracted and sit on TikTok for hours instead of working through what we need to do. Deceiving ourselves, getting stuck in negative thoughts. That we lose our vision and start to have our mind filled with other stuff. Attachments, and that we go back on autopilot. So it needs to be said that on this path you must pay attention. You have to provide intention, that desire to be aware, and change as you move on your path. Stay focused, stay flexible, and keep moving within. So I also want to talk about staying connected in order to become more powerful, because there are no incidents or irrelevant accidents. Everything matters and everything has meaning. But when we connect, we can identify with, and when we identify with something, we lose power. So for example, if somebody tells you their problems and you connect with them, you acknowledge, listen, and offer your presence, you empower them and yourself at the same time. And this results in greater connection and more power. But however, if you identify with somebody's problems, that means that you'll suffer along with them, which helps nobody and results in a loss for power for both of you. So this is an important note to take with us on the path to power. Now let's talk a little bit about the Truth Triad and the 3 kinds of people. So 3 kinds of people. We have head people, who are intellectual, thinking words. They use logic and reasoning. They might be slower to process information because they need to think things over before they reach a conclusion. They are sorted. They like to compare. They're ordered. And these are the people who are in charge of our current educational system. Then there's heart people. Heart people are more aware of the entire field. They're able to grasp many things at once. They can sense the gestalt of what is happening. They gather information by how things feel. Heart people are good at sensing shapes, forms, textures, colors, sounds, and emotion. They can grasp the answer before they understand the logical steps for how they got there. Einstein is a good example of this. And heart-centered people are more accepted, or being heart-centered is more accepted in some parts of the world, like Brazil or Asia. Third kind of people are gut people. Gut people communicate with actions. They like to do things. They don't like to go into complex explanations. They like to give brief signs. So if you think about in sport, they kind of have these head nods or hand signals to show where to go and what to do. So gut people are generally not fans of words or emotions. They think they get in the way of effective action. Gut people are warrior people. They don't have time to think about it. They just need to take instinctive, immediate action. So, of course, we all have these 3, and this is the Truth Triad, right? But we tend to have one that we are dominant in. So when we meet somebody who's dominant in a different part, we have potentials for misunderstandings and miscommunications. So often head people will think that heart people are too sentimental and sloppy, that the gut people are too inarticulate and dense. Heart people can often feel that the head people are too cold, aloof, and disengaged, and gut people are too abrupt and disconnected from their emotions. And gut people can often think that, or feel, or experience head people as overcomplicating everything, and that heart people are just too emotional and unfathomable. So just take a little moment to connect with yourself. Are you dominant in mind, heart, or gut? And I will speak for myself that I am first heart, then mind, and then gut. That's the order that my triad works in. What is the order of your Truth Triad? And so we all use all 3, but in various order. And here's what's important to know. Our second style is a trap. So if we're, like me, a heart first person and head second, my first feeling is often right, and then I'm a bit stressed and I don't trust it. So then I go into my head and I start to run around in head about it. And instead of then taking productive action, I put that action energy into my head and I run around in analysis paralysis. So it's not real action, I'm just thinking about it. And this is where then the third style comes in to create balance. So in that balance, I go into my gut, and then I have that instinct that takes me out of, running around in circles in my head, and goes instinct mode, and I take decisive action. So that is my second style, my mind, is often my trap. Which is your order, and how does your truth triad run? And can you see that the second style can often create obstacles for you on your path? So we also need to talk then about separation, disconnection, and powerlessness. Because the more disconnected and separate you are from the object of your attention, the less power you can obtain from it. So this, for example, is, we see somebody else who's really powerful, and instead of allowing our golden shadow to be there, so we feel like, wow, I want to be like them, and go and ask them, hey, I want to be like you, can you help me? We make them an enemy. So instead of using them as an ally in our own pursuit of power, we push them away, and therefore push that part of ourselves away. So disconnection is the cause of disease and a major loss of power. And when we have a disconnection in our inner connection, we are really having problems. Because when our inner networks become blocked or obstructed, like an organ can become cut off, and that will cause the organ to eventually fail. Even if that organ recovers, we cannot be healthy and in our power until we reconnect it to the whole system, and we can do this through ceremony or energy healing. When we are not in mind, heart, and gut in connection, when we're not using our truth triad in its rightful way, we make mistakes. We become judgmental, and we have major losses of power because we fall off the path of the heart. So staying on the path requires intention, attention, and being in the present. Because thinking that you're powerful because you had power in the past, or because you've got great plans for the future, that's all ego. None of that is real power. Thinking about it is not an act of power. Conceiving ideas, yes, that's a powerful step, because that's the moment of creation. Taking the step is then the moment of power. So momentum is generated through taking step after step after step, but the conception of ideas is a powerful place in itself. So the power is now. The greatest power is in the present moment, because now is where you can do something. So being in the present moment requires you to be aware of what you're perceiving, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're choosing, and ultimately what you're doing now. So let's go a little bit deeper into attention. Attention is a product of our awareness. Attention is our ability to attend to what is going on, both internally and externally. Attention is something that we can cultivate through focus and concentration, and this can take years of daily practice. Again, a significant part of you goes where your attention goes. When you are where you are, when you're fully present, you have your full power with you. Most people have a lack of attention, and so distractions on the path take us off the path of power, and we lose power. Where attention goes, energy flows. Again, attention can be directed inwardly and outwardly depending on what's required, but a good shaman, a great shaman, is able to direct their attention in both directions at the same time. They're aware internally and externally simultaneously. They have a foot in each world. Next, let's talk about intention, because there's nothing but intent in the universe. Intent is the basis of everything, and attention and intent are inextricably linked. Your attention is where you choose to focus, and your intent directs that focus and guides your attention. Intention is what makes things happen. And indigenous people see intent as the core of reality, the essence of spirit, the foundation of all perceptions. If a shaman doesn't like what they see or experience, they can shift their attention to something more fulfilling. Without this ability, we are victims of circumstance. So how can we do that? Sounds so easy, right? How can we shift our intention to get better results on the path? Well, first off, accept the current conditions. This can seem really paradoxical, but it will help you find neutrality, which is non-resistance. If we can get rid of blame, victimization, obsessions, fear of the future, all these kind of energy leaks that kill off our power building process. So how to make yourself neutral by habit is erasing the years of accumulated habit patterns. You have to empty your subconscious. And there's an exercise in the Manipura chapter of this month. We're talking about autolysis, so writing down all of your shit, all your fears, your concerns, your negative beliefs. Write it in, I called it the fuck it journal. Write until you have nothing left to write. Either go through and cross it over, change your beliefs, or just burn the book. Once you're emptied of what disempowers you, then you need to build power to intend something new. Once you can access this different state of mind, you look at how would you rather have the situation be. See it that way, feel it that way, and start to come to believe that it can be that way. Act as if it were that way already. Make your vision solid and grounded. You are the script writer of your play. You are the author, the authority of your story. So attention and intention cannot be fully exercised without the third quality, which is seeing. And seeing is fundamental to shamanism, because the word shaman, as you know by now, means the one who sees. And by seeing we mean the sixth sense, seeing with our third eye beyond what our eyes can perceive. In Australia, the Aborigines call it strong eye, and they can do what's called in English like remote viewing, seeing inside a body or seeing events that take place far away. In the Western world, we call it mambo jumbo, or weird, but there's a great amount of scientific research on it, and while most people might call it weird, the military, police, psychics, and many others have been using second sight or strong eye for years. When we can truly see, we can see through the layers and masks, and we can see into the subconscious. We can see others the way that they really are. We can see ourselves where we are. So, to recap, on the path of power, the path of the heart, once you start, there's no going back. You will need intention, attention, and seeing as your tools to stay on your path. Your path is taken step by step in the moment, and the moment is where you have most of your power. Thank you for your time and your attention. You've invested your time well.